G'day, welcome to Say It With Guitars. I'm your host, Pete Cornelius. Each episode I'll be digging deep and getting to hang with some of Australia's finest guitar pickers, songwriters, producers, collectors and makers. I look forward to bringing you these fun conversations and I hope you enjoy Say It With Guitars. G'day guys, thanks again for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the last little instalment with Mia. Sad news on the podcast today, folks. We lost a great guitar player. Good friend of mine, Roy Payne, Big Daddy Roy Payne, bloody amazing guitar player. Really quirky and interesting sort of take on old school guitar. Played a lot of great country picking stuff, some bottleneck slide. He played pedal steel, lap steel, all those cool instruments. And also he's a piano accordion or button box accordion fetish. He used to play great Cajun box and even the fiddle. Always had a great vibe. One of my favourite things though is his guitar playing on Don Walker and the Suave Fucks. Played a baritone guitar on a lot of that material and really made a huge impact on my guitar playing. So yeah, sad to hear about Roy. If you want to listen to his work, check out some Satellite 5, a rockabilly band, Don Walker and the Suave Fucks. Great band name. And the Jeremy Edwards Dust Radio Band too. Play some great guitar on those records. I had the pleasure of playing with Roy a few times over the years. It wasn't just guitaring. I also got to play bass behind him as well with some great singer-songwriters like Tony Swain and Jimmy Dowling. Who else did he come down here with? Glennie Ray Virus as well. He played a lot with her. So yeah, go and check out some Roy Payne. Miss you, buddy. Before we crack into today's show, I'd like to shout out to our sponsor, Mr. Billy Tarrant from Tarrant Guitars. Billy's an amazing luthier and he makes some real sweet instruments. I'm lucky enough for him to have built me a 00 size acoustic guitar, which I've dragged all around the country and it's sounding better than ever. So yeah, check out tarrantguitars.net.au, Tassie's one-stop custom workshop for custom-made guitars, all guitar repairs and services. Let's get into the show. I'd like to welcome to Say It With Guitars podcast, Mr. Billy Tarrant. Billy, how you doing?
I'm good, Pete. Yourself?
Excellent. Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks for inviting us into your workshop for a very special, I guess this is the birthplace of many instruments, many dreams and people's inspiration.
Yeah, many headaches. Many late nights. Many cold mornings. Sorry about the temperature this morning.
It is fresh, but hey, look, it is what it is.
Yeah, beanies are a standard issue. Safety,
and beard. That's a good-looking beard. You didn't have that last time I saw.
No, that's the winter warmer for the Tassie winter down here.
Bit of insulation around the chin.
Correct. That's it.
Good move.
Yeah.
So, I've spent a little bit of time in this place, but nowhere near as many hours as yourself. What? How many hours do you reckon you spend here a week in the workshop?
I'm here full time, so it's Monday to Friday. Opening hours are 10 to 5. I try and get here early, but I don't like to see anyone before 10 a.m. If I can help it. It used to be a lot more. I used to do probably 3 nights a week on top of that, which is work all day, go home, cook dinner, put the kids to bed, come back down and go till sort of 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
With the theory that the more hours you work, the more productive you are. But I've maybe I'm getting a bit older, where I think that it's not really the case, because the more tired you are, the slower you work. The harder it is to get going the next morning. So I'm probably not as young and youthful and energetic as I used to be. So try and do it a bit more sensibly and not try and sort of work myself into the ground. Yeah, it's finding a balance. It's it's like any business that you run or something that you're passionate about. It's work life, home life balance.
Yep. I guess early days you do have to kind of charge a bit harder to create the name and the business ethic and get your message across.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once you've created a bit of a name for yourself, perhaps, or a good business model, you can then start chilling out a bit and getting the life,
definitely,
home balance a bit stronger.
Yeah, and I mean, look, in the very early days too, doing this as a job, some weeks isn't paying the bills.
Yeah.
So it's doing this and then going and doing something else after hours.
Yep.
On top of that, but and I'm probably trying to, thinking you've got something to prove as well. And trying to make that name for yourself. But I think, I'm in that phase now where business pretty much runs itself, I suppose, as far as the work comes in and living the dream now, I guess. I suppose.
So, in regards to a bit of, I guess, time frame, like a typical guitar for you, like I guess, because I'm looking around now, there's quite a few guitars that are in different stages. And I guess that's the key, isn't it, to manage your cash flow a bit. I know you're doing repairs and sort of stuff like that can be sort of out the door a bit quicker than a full custom build, but I guess that's the key, isn't it, to have a build in different stages, so therefore you can work on a few different guitars and then get them out, and then you can sort of manage your cash flow from that a bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I don't only build guitars, I repair all sorts as well. So doing a custom build, although it might sort of take, full time, it might sort of take 3 or 4 weeks to build a guitar. It's never done that quickly around here, because I do all the repair things as well. So, like for example, this week I'll probably spend maybe 8 hours on a custom order for someone, maybe 20 hours repairing 6 or 7 different guitars, then maybe another 10 hours working on stock guitars.
Yep.
So it's not really a plan that I have to do it that way. That's kind of just the way it works out. And the repairs are, guitar comes in, make a new bone nut or do a fret level on guitar. It's out at the end of the day. You get paid and call in the supermarket on the way home. Yeah. Doing a custom build, you mightn't actually see an income for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep.
So, I kind of mix it up, all up into a big melting pot.
Yep.
I suppose. Plus, probably gives me a sense of having a bit of freedom too.
Yeah.
Because some days I'm not feeling creative.
Yep.
So I can just get on with the repairs. Some days I'm completely inspired and I don't want anything to do with repairs. So I can work on custom orders or or stock builds and things like that.
That's great, having the freedom to be able to do that. And also, I'm thinking it'd be great to also have those repairs come in because you're sort of learning from other instruments, because
absolutely.
If a winemaker just drinks their own wine, they can't compare it to
absolutely.
other vintages and other areas. So I think as a guitar maker, it'd be good to see you go, these guys have done this. That's a cool idea, or that's a crappy idea. I'll never, make sure I never do that on my guitar. Or
absolutely, I think one of the best things, if you want to make good guitars, is to fix everyone else's broken guitars. Absolutely. You see why things failed, especially sort of things that are like looking at structural integrity. Why this guitar exploded or why this is falling apart. Why this soundboard's bellied up. And I think too, I'm probably a bit of a double whammy. So when I build, I'm building with all that knowledge of repairing in the back of my head. And also I did some building up in far north Queensland where guitars just fall apart. Once they hit the Daintree rainforest, it's all over for most guitars. So that was kind of drummed into me in the early days. What's the point of putting 150 hours into a guitar that's going to fall apart? Yeah, I don't want to spend the next 20 years fixing guitars that I built in the last 20 years. If I can help it. Absolutely, and that would, in the long run, just cost you time and money because a warranty job on your own instrument, I suppose, would be like a labour of love. It wouldn't be getting paid to do it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, the Australian climate is very harsh. I mean, especially on acoustic instruments.
Well, I found that out last year, didn't I?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I had another guy I've built 3 guitars for, I think, lives in Cranda, up above Cairns, and I think before I built him a guitar, he was going to Ayers Rock and doing sort of 3-week contracts playing out there. And he came back, I think he had a mini mate, and he went out and did his 3 weeks in Ayers Rock, and he came back to Port Douglas, opened up the case, and the guitar was in about 5 pieces. Oh. And he's sort of, this isn't right. What's wrong?
Yeah.
And then you show him what the humidity's doing, and anyway. So
yeah, right. So what would be a good, like, say if I was playing shows between Ayers Rock and Cairns and then flying down to Hobart, like, should I be investing in like a guitar that maybe lives in each of those places and sort of having someone I could trust to look after it, and then just like picking it up?
Well, yeah,
would that be an ideal scenario?
It is a tricky one. Because I mean, I was reading something last night. Someone, I think they've been around the floods in northern New South Wales, and Bridge was starting to lift on their acoustic guitar, their Maton, and they sent it back to Maton, and Maton said, it's been subjected to extreme humidity, so we're going to dry it out, repair it and send it back. And the guy said, but what happens when it gets back here? It's back in that high humidity. Some things are unavoidable.
Yeah.
You can't cancel the gig because your humidity gauge says, it's too low, It's more just sort of being aware of it. If you're in a dry climate, things like damp sponges, literally inside the guitar, just sort of keeping that moisture.
Yeah, right.
It's a balancing act. It's an act I don't really have to deal with because I'm not a touring musician. I'll let you figure it out.
Come up with your own plan.
Yeah, pretty much. Just ring me when it goes wrong.
And speaking of playing guitar yourself, give us a little background, because I know you do have a play. You've got a bit of a background of playing guitar as well as making. So let's hear a little bit.
I've been thinking about this because I knew you were going to ask me that. My father was a musician, reasonably serious. So he played mandolin, guitar and pedal steel guitar, and I believe it's not a mystery, but he never really talked about it. But he got to the point where he was playing places like Festival Hall, supported Roy Orbison.
Wow.
On a tour, I played the Opera House and stuff like that.
Cool.
And then sort of dropped out of Melbourne, met my mum. They moved to country Victoria to do the sort of sustainable farming thing, and had kids. And when you're a dairy farmer, milking the cows till 7 o'clock at night, going and doing a gig, getting home at 4 a.m, going to milk the cows again, he just kind of wound up doing it. Anyway, I was probably maybe 10. My brother was listening to Guns N' Roses, my older brother, and I decided I wanted to be Slash. So, Dad, I want a guitar.
Yeah.
And he said, no, if you want a guitar, you got to do piano lessons for a year.
Okay.
Just to get your ear in tune.
Great.
With things. So, did that for a year, hated it, but did it. Got my first guitar. But I wasn't a committed guitarist. I just wanted to be Slash.
Yeah.
So I don't even think... I think I had a few lessons. And then once I hit high school, got right into punk music.
Yeah.
I think because you didn't... Or to me, you didn't need to know a lot to get away with it.
Yeah. 3
power chords and you could start a band.
And some attitude.
Yeah, exactly. So... got right into the sort of, I guess, no effects, strung out American sort of punk scene. In saying that, so this was mid-90s, and I guess the Australian music scene was really cooking.
Yeah.
So, yes, bands were doing all ages gigs, so you could go and watch. You go to Pushover Festival, watch Frenzal Rhomb, Living End, Jebediah, Super Jesus.
Yeah. Spider
Spider-Bait, and watch Recovery.
Yeah.
Every weekend. It was awesome.
Yeah. And all very guitar-y bass bands.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, real drummers. All that sort of stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of what I grew up on. Yeah, and it was awesome. And yeah, we had our own sort of punk band. So and back in country Victoria, we actually had a bit of a scene there as well.
Mm-hmm.
All our mates were in bands. And yeah, on a Friday night you could go and watch 5 bands for $5.
Yeah.
At an underage gig. So
yeah.
that was cool. I was still a terrible guitarist though, but I didn't need to be anything more than that. It was sort of being part of something.
Yeah.
Being part of a scene.
Yep.
Yeah, then I think then I did a reggae band thing for a while, moved around a bit, and then I got to the age, I think I was about 25, still was an average guitar player, and I was listening to Andy McKee and a guy called Eric Mongrain, and he did this lap tapping thing on an acoustic guitar on his lap, played it like a piano.
Right.
It was a YouTube video that went viral. Mm-hmm. Completely blew me away, and all of a sudden I thought, right, I'm going to be a good guitarist now. I'm actually going to learn how to play. Saved up enough money to buy a decent guitar.
Yep.
Went down to...
An acoustic?
Yeah, an acoustic. Went down to Blackburn, where I think there was Billy Hyde's,
mm-hmm.
Gallons, and might have been another one there, and played every acoustic guitar between 3 music shops. And completely changed everything I knew about guitar. I literally walked in there thinking a guitar's a guitar.
Yep.
And I walked out going, wow, every single guitar sounds different.
Yeah.
And then I look back, I think quite a few years earlier, I went and watched Jackson Browne with my mum. And he was on his own, and he had a grand piano, and he had 14 guitars. And at the time I was thinking, oh, what a wanker. Like,
Cool,
you know, it's just showing off how many guitars he's got. And all of a sudden, that made sense to me. I thought, right, every guitar's different.
Yeah.
So I didn't buy a nice guitar. Because at the time I was working at a fish farm and getting up at 5 a.m. and not really loving life. And my wife sort of said, well, what do you want to do that's going to make you happy? And I had this stupid idea. Well, I like woodwork and I like guitars. Let's make a guitar instead of buying one. Instead of buying a good one, let's make an average one. So, yeah, use the money to buy some timber and some very basic tools.
Yep.
And this was before things were all over the internet. The internet was there, but it was probably the last place you'd go looking for how to make guitar videos. Now it's completely flooded.
Yeah.
So,
what age or what year roughly was this?
So this would have been maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So I bought a couple of books. That's how old school it was. I bought real books.
Yep.
And some plans. And yeah, it took a month off work and tried to build an acoustic guitar. Built something I thought was incredible. And it wasn't bad. I think it was a good effort. And then me and my wife, we packed up. We got sick of the cold weather in Melbourne. We packed up and headed north just to see where we'd end up. And we ended up in Port Douglas. And I met a real guitar maker.
It's a fair bit north of Melbourne.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Different climate, that's for sure. Yeah, and actually, and it was only we went to Port Douglas to have a beer. And another mate of mine, he was driving behind us in his car, and we were leaving Port Douglas because we were staying in Cairns at the time. And we just got out of Port Douglas, and he rang me and he said, oh, what's that L word you keep talking about? I said, oh, what, Luthier? And he goes, yeah.
L word?
Yeah, I saw it. It's on a sign. It's written on a sign in the main street of Port Douglas.
Hey.
I thought, no way. So we turned around and he went back, and there's this sign there's a guitar maker in the main street of Port Douglas. So marched in there and introduced myself, and he ended up being the guy. This is Stewie Forbes. He's the guy that ended up, we stayed with him for a couple of years.
That's great.
Yeah, and that's when it all, I guess, went up another level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never, like, playing guitar, I mean, since then, like, I've done a lot of gigs, but I've only ever learnt enough guitar to get away with doing the gig.
Yeah, right.
The passion's definitely more in the building than the playing.
Yep.
Yeah,
But I guess it must sort of rub off a little bit from the instruments that you make. I know that every time I play a different guitar, a different thing falls out of the instrument. So do you find that as well when you pick up or make a different thing? You sort of approach the same chords a bit differently, or
definitely. Each one is completely different to the next. I mean, even 10 guitars on the same day out of the same factory have all got their own little
quirks.
Yeah, exactly. Which is cool. It makes it exciting.
I agree.
How boring would the world be if every guitar sounded the same? Which I thought when I was younger, I thought all guitars were the same.
That's right.
I was pleasantly surprised. It's imagine if every singer sounded the same. It'd be so boring. So,
take us back to that time back in Port Douglas, or when you first met, what's his name again? Stewie.
Yeah.
Was that a bit of a aha sort of moment where you went, oh, this is great, this guy has some skills, he has some life knowledge that I can learn from, potentially some future employment?
Absolutely.
Or was like
that was an opportunity that not a lot of people get. One thing when I thought, I'm going to be a guitar maker, and I was probably Googling it and talking to people, and everyone said, don't do it. You'll be broke for the rest of your life. It's a really hard slog. But when I met Stu, and he was living proof that you can do it.
Yeah.
And I remember I pulled out the guitar that I built. I thought, what do you think of this? And he said, it's a good effort.
Yeah.
But instantly pointed out a couple of things that I could probably do differently. And he had a little showroom, or a little music shop above the workshop. Mm-hmm. And he had 3 or 4 of his guitars hanging on the wall, and I looked at his and went, wow, that's the high-end sort of handmade thing.
So you knew straight away that he was the real deal.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And just a great guy. Like, we still talk all the time. He's still a mentor.
Great.
Yeah, so he was offering like a 1-month intensive build your own guitar course. So instantly looked at my wife and said, can we stay in Port Douglas? I've got to do this. And she's great. She said, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This is what you got to do. So, and it was a risk. It was like $4,000. And I think I had about $4,000 left after travelling for 3 months up the coast. So my wife, bless her, she went and got a job at the deli at Coles. Yep. We got some short-term accommodation, and I did the course and finished the course, built a guitar, which not long after that I ended up selling for the same price that I paid for the course.
Wow.
That was my first sale. That was to a fella, I think he was from Sydney, working for MTV, but he was moving back to England and wanted an Australian-made guitar to take back with him.
Great.
So the course literally paid for itself straight away. Fantastic. And then I got along with Stu so well, he said, well, if you're not going anywhere, do you want to make another one? So made another one. Then he realised pretty quickly, like, Billy's a bit stubborn. He's going to do this. So he taught me in all the different aspects. We actually moved workshop while I was there, so I got to sort of rebuild a work, make workbenches, that sort of stuff. Yep. He showed me how to do your own books, to run things as a business, and then he brought me into the repair side of it too. It was a couple of years up there.
Fantastic.
But my wife's a Tassie girl, and we finally, she wanted to come home. Yeah. So I thought, well, that's a challenge. I didn't know much about Tassie, and we redid the East Coast and wound up in Tassie. So we're still here. Yeah,
it's funny. Tassie's changed flavour in a lot of people's minds and opinions. Like, I remember when I was first touring on the mainland as a 15, 16-year-old, like, who are these bloody Tasmanian hicks coming over here? Yeah. Like, there was some pretty awful stuff said to us.
Oh, even when we were in Port Douglas, and we'd planned, before we'd left Port Douglas, for about a year we knew we were going to end up in Tassie. And I'd tell people that, like, what would you want to go to Tassie for? 2 heads and all this sort of stuff.
6 toes.
It can't be that bad.
Yeah.
But it's funny, when I moved here and I looked around and I thought, I don't reckon this is going to work for guitar making or even doing gigs. So in the whole time Port Douglas too, I was still gigging most weekends as well. Yeah. So because I was not really making money off the guitars at that point, so it would be building guitars from 8 in the morning to 4 in the arvo, teaching guitar lessons from 4:30 to 6:30, going and working in a bar till 8:30, and then maybe going and do a gig on top of that.
That's hectic.
Yeah, doing the hard yards. And then got to Tassie and I thought, no, there's no gigs or anything. But once I got under the skin, there was a whole scene going on. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it's not one of those states where everything's sitting on top and everything's like in your face. You kind of got to get in below the cracks a little bit and meet some people and really get to know the landscape and how things work. The community here is so supportive and great.
Yeah, it is, and it is like a community too.
Yeah, and I don't think it really matters if you're from the northwest or from the south end. Like, everyone just seems to be on the same page. Everyone's happy to help their brothers out, their sisters out, and just to help the scene as such. So therefore, in retrospect, it helps them, and the whole circle of friendliness and kindship sort of goes a long way here, I reckon. Yeah,
definitely. I think too, I'll be honest, I love building guitars a lot more than repairing them. But repairing them, it's kind of like doing a service to that whole scene, like to that community. Because I'm not sure where else they go. Like, a lot of the repairs in here are your working musos or your weekend musos, your local bands and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's a really cool thing. And you wouldn't, if you just walk through Tassie, you wouldn't see it. You got to stop and have a look, and then you see it. And there's some unbelievable musos in Tassie. Yeah,
and I found a lot of people in the industry who have moved here, not just guitar players, but people involved in audio perhaps or in touring sort of spectrum, have moved here for lifestyle purposes.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's just so chill, and you can always hop on a plane and go and get your fix or go and do your touring or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is pretty easy. An airport's always like an hour away from no matter wherever you are.
Exactly. Yeah.
And parking's pretty bloody cheap.
Yep.
So, and I think lifestyle here is the key. I don't want to be like on every episode of this podcast going Tassie.
Yeah.
But it's just a natural thing, isn't it? I suppose, us as people who live here now, we can sort of express our love for the island.
Yeah.
And the people that inhabit it.
Yeah.
So
I think, look, me and my wife moved to Tassie with the whole idea of we'll try it for a year.
Right.
And we're still here. So this is 13 or 14 years or something now.
Yeah.
And I've got no intentions. Like, it gets cold, but you have bad weather everywhere you go. Like,
that's right.
You're not immune to it.
It's only inappropriate clothing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
And today's a special day. We were going to do this interview yesterday, so I came into the shop and there was a hustle and bustle going on. There was routers and jigs and all sorts of things going on. So we rescheduled for today, but then I had a look on the inside of the soundboard of the guitar Billy made for me, and it's 2 years to this day that sticker went on.
Wow, yeah.
So happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
00. Number 100.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a milestone, number 100. You were telling me that you were never going to sell 100. What?
Yeah, that was the plan.
You gave in.
For the 99 guitars before I built that one was, once I hit 100, I'll hang on to it. But, if it was anyone else, I probably would have hung on to it. But being Mr. Pete Cornelius, just someone who I got a lot of respect for and love the music. And I mean, I've got this really nice bit of Honduran rosewood at the moment, and I've decided I'm keeping that for my one. But I think, and I've got to weigh up, would I get more enjoyment watching someone else play it who can really play it?
Yeah.
Rather than me pull it out and go and do a covers gig every 2 weeks or something like that. I've got to sort of weigh it up. But no, I'm happy you got that one, Pete. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's been a special moment in my musical sort of, I wouldn't say career, but musical journey, I suppose. Because everyone starts at the same place. Everyone has to like scratch together some money and work their way up the rung of quality and tonal inspiration. I know that I would have not appreciated this instrument 20 years ago as much as I do now.
And
especially we do have a third member of the podcast, folks.
Yeah. There you go.
I wonder if you can hear that.
That's Angus. He's the workshop dog.
Yeah, he's just motorboating over there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. It's all part of the ambience.
Yeah, sorry.
What was I saying? Yeah, very special instrument. And part of the inspiration behind it was my grandfather, when he passed away, he left a lot of his grandchildren a bit of money. And I thought, what a great place to put it in a custom-made instrument that I had input with design and the way it looks, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, Granddad. Like, I know that every time I pick it up, I sort of feel pretty special. I wouldn't say blessed, but I sort of do feel lucky to have obtained that instrument with the help of him and with the help of you, Billy. So yeah, happy days.
Yeah, no, it's a great story. Yeah, and it's funny. My guitars aren't cheap. I can't afford to buy one of my guitars at the moment, but it sort of narrows down. People like to get a handmade guitar. You got to really want it and put thought into it, because it's not something you can just go and do every week.
Yeah.
Quite often there's usually a pretty special story behind each one.
Yeah.
I think. I built one for a guy maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and this fella's dad passed away, and he wanted to sort of build a tribute guitar in honour of his dad, using timbers that his dad loved, and we even put some of his dad's ashes inside the neck, so this guy could sit there and literally play guitar with his dad after he's gone. Great. So yeah, it gets pretty deep.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's the more meaningful, the better.
That'd be a pretty satisfying component, I think, wouldn't it? Like dealing with customers who have a genuine reason for a particular instrument.
Yeah, that's the real, I guess, payday for me. Yeah, and like stories like yours. Yeah, that's payment for the soul, I suppose. You got to have payment to pay the bills, but that's not why I do this.
Yeah.
If I wanted more money, I'd go and do something else.
Yeah.
There's a bigger reason why I do this, and it's for stories like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely got to fill the cup in many ways. Yeah. I think if you can turn up to your employment, no matter what you do, and enjoy it every day, you're winning, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I was put here to do more than just pay bills. And whatever your craft is, or whatever you do, your 9 to 5, it's got to be satisfying for the soul, or you're going to get to 65 and go, shit, what happened? And I'm just so. I used to, back in the early days when I started making guitars, I used to pinch myself every day, and it wasn't even because I was making a guitar. It was because I found something that I loved to do. And I would speak to older people, and they're like, I'm 60 and I still don't know what I want to do. I haven't figured it out yet.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm still in my mid-20s and I figured it out. I unlocked that key.
Yeah.
To be able to get up every day and be excited to go and do what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm always been grateful to figure it out, I guess, early in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those crafts, I guess, where you're continually learning.
Yep.
And you can continually develop different styles of builds. And like, I've been into surfing a bit this year. I've been getting deep on some podcasts with surfing and listening to people who talk about the development of shaping, because I guess shaping a surfboard is similar to a guitar in a way. Like, it's pretty more dangerous with the fumes and all the foam going everywhere. Yeah. But it's just people who are passionate about it, passionate about the making and about the end result and about what you can achieve with that end result. So that's what I would imagine guitars would be like too. It's like you're not refining it for the fastest fretboard around. You're sort of trying to I guess, conjure someone's spirit or energy that can relate to the particular instrument. And if there's a good relationship between the two, it's going to be like dynamite.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like it's, people have said it to me before. It's probably harder for me to see sometimes because I don't give myself time to step away from something I've just finished and then come back and have another look. But when someone picks up a guitar made and they said, I can feel the handmade sort of touch or whatever it is you put into it. That's pretty cool. I think for me too, I was thinking about this the other day. I started another guitar when I shouldn't because I've got 5 on the go already. I should bloody finish something before I start something new. But I woke up that day and I thought, no, I'm going to build one of these. It's that whole, I have a need to create things. It's similar to carving a surfboard, having this need to create something. Out of an object.
It'd be like writing a song.
Exactly
you just have
right.
That need or that little spur of inspiration, therefore it triggers this huge snowball that you just can't control. You just got to get it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that comes from the same place for sure. Yeah, and I think that's literally the day I started making guitars is probably the day I stopped trying to write songs. I think just anything creative I had in me moved into guitars. I don't think I've written a song since. Maybe when I get arthritis and can't do guitars anymore, I'll start writing songs again. Who knows?
I was just thinking then when we were talking, do you have clients come in sometimes ordering a particular style of guitar and you knowing them on a personal level or knowing them as a player, like what sort of player they are? Would you guide someone towards something that they might say someone comes in wanting a big dreadnought guitar, they're 4 foot tall, and they play folk music. Would you go, let's look at this parlour size instrument, or let's do you have creative input like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm probably like if you go to a custom shop from a factory, and you might get to choose what colour and hardware upgrades, and that's about it. I'm probably the complete opposite end of the scale. So it's my first question is probably what's your dream? What's your dream guitar look like? But it's like getting a suit tailor made. So it's literally how big are your hands? Everyone's hands are different. Body shape, all that sort of stuff, down to what sort of do you want a sort of vintage vibe looking thing or do you want the bright pink sparkly? Yeah, all those. And most of the time the customer walks away more confused because they never dreamed that they have this many options. And that's part of why things don't get built quickly around here too, is because every single guitar is different and unique.
I guess you can't just work backwards either. You need to, because each step of the way will change the outcome.
We'll have an outcome,
of
absolutely.
The final stage.
Yeah, so I'm building one for someone and they come in tomorrow and say, I was on YouTube last night and I saw, this person had this sort of inlay on their fretboard, and I'm like, I can do that. I've got a source for that material. I'll ring in 3 weeks when I can get the stuff here. So then that sort of goes on hold for 3 weeks, and I'll go back to repairing or, and a lot of things. A lot of the builds aren't everything set in stone either, because it's literally like a journey for each guitar. So usually with acoustic guitars, I build the body first and then the neck. So things like inlay work doesn't even really doesn't need to be locked in until I get to the neck. So things can organically change. As well, but it's a journey. But definitely. I usually lay out every option under the sun. Probably what I should be doing is saying this is what you need. That would probably be better business wise. But I like to please people as well.
Keep customers happy as well.
And it's not something. next month I'll come back and you can do that on the next guitar. Because this a lot of these guitars are a one-off. It's a big decision for people.
Yeah.
Quite often it's trying to talk people out of doing everything possible on one guitar.
Yes.
Let's have all the inlays and 6 different colours and all the rest of it. Yeah, sometimes less is more.
Absolutely. And like you said, not to do everything on one guitar, because I know that I was probably about 13 or 14. We were travelling around with the family in a caravan, and it's like a summer holiday, you know, we sort of did it every few years. We'd pack up and cruise around. And we got to Emerald in central Queensland, which is where my uncle, my mum's brother and family were living, working in the mines there. So we kind of pulled up stumps there for about 3 or 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. Got to meet some of the local music community and went to the few jams and things. And there's this guy there, Trevor. He saw me play at one of the jam sessions. He's like, "Pete, I want to build your guitar." Because I was playing this, what was it? It was a Kenora Strat, like a plywood Strat.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Dad and I had hot rodded. We put a lipstick in it. We put in the neck, and we put like a standard, like a Strat Fender standard sort of pickup in the middle, and we put a wide range humbucker in the back from an old 70s sort of Tele Deluxe or something.
Cool.
And painted it the same colour as his Harley Davidson.
Hey.
You know, he had a bit of leftover paint.
Awesome.
Says, "All right, boy, I'll paint you this guitar the same as me Harley." I was like, "Yeah, that's great. You know,
cool.
Sweet."
Yeah.
Put my name on the headstock. You know, what a wanky.
Have you still got it?
Yeah, I still got it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Actually, it sounds great. And every time I pick it up, I just flash back to those early days of guitaring.
Yeah.
Anyway, he saw me play that, and I don't know, he just must have felt that he could contribute to my career or something. Like, I think his goal was for me to play it somewhere like on Hey Ho Saturday, or go and jam with Nathan Cavalieri somewhere or whatever with his guitar. And I thought, yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. And he wanted to build it for cost. Like, he didn't want any commission. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, this is a great opportunity. Yep. Basically run up Pro Audio in Canberra. Yeah. We had a good relationship with Nunzio and Lawrence Gambale, the guys who used to run it. Yeah. So we ordered what we thought we needed. Dad had a piece of myrtle at home left over from the kitchen bench. Yeah. The big slab of myrtle we got shipped up to Trevor in Emerald, and I roughly drew out, it was a PRS sort of shape, because they were kind of pretty new and glossy looking as a kid in the mid-90s, you know. Yeah, yeah. And so I thought, yeah, cool, yeah, got a PRS-shaped guitar and maybe shrink it down a bit, because, you know, as a young kid, you don't want anything too big and bulky, which looking back was probably a mistake, because it's, you know, you do get bigger. Yes. As I did. Yeah. But that was a really cool experience, having someone to devote many, many hours to an instrument for me, for my pleasure and for my sort of guitar journey. Yeah. You know, I've still got the guitar, and obviously, and you know, it's the same tree as my kitchen bench. Folks. Yeah, my kitchen bench, awesome. And things like that. Yep. It's so special, and those memories that are attached to those particular instruments are worth more than the instrument themselves. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm sure you find the same thing when someone comes in with a grand design of something. It's probably got more meaning than it has actual. Oh, absolutely. Playability. Or yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I take it pretty seriously too. Yeah, I'll tell you a real quick one. Had a guy ring me, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and said, "Oh, you know, I'm in Tassie. I'm cutting a blackwood tree on my farm. I've got to get rid of it. How would you cut it up for instruments?" So I explained quarter saw and whatnot. That was the end of the conversation. And I never knew who the guy was. And then 2 years later, I get a call from the same guy. And he said, "Oh, it's been racked and drying for 2 years. I'll throw some in the trailer and bring it round and get you to have a look at it." I said, "Yeah, cool." So he turned up an hour later and I had a look at it. And, yeah, cool, nice wood. He said, "Oh, I've got a job for you." I said, "Righto." And so his uncle was in an accident at Cataract Gorge and ended up in a wheelchair. And so the nephew decided,
let's get the family to all chip in, and we'll, because this guy was a muso too. He used to play at the Royal Oak and places like that. So the family said, let's all chip in and get Billy to make a guitar out of the timber off the nephew's farm, not tell him, and do all those sort of meaningful things. And and we did this sort of top secret guitar. So like the Aussie, the fella the guitar was for, he was a bugle player in the Anzac Day parade. Their family had been doing it for 70 years or something. So inlaid a mother of pearl bugle on the headstock. And did all these sort of purposeful, meaningful things. And because he was in a wheelchair, but he could still, his arms worked. He could still play guitar. Yeah. And actually, Rick Eves. Yep. Yeah, he did a little documentary on the whole thing as well. Yeah, and they presented it to Aussie up in Launceston. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that's sort of happened in my career, I suppose. Like, if you want to talk about meaningful, it gets very personal.
Fantastic.
It's not just gluing bits of wood together to make guitars.
Yep.
I get more out of things like that than put someone playing on a guitar in Marvel Stadium or whatever, or seen on the TV. Yeah, that's cool. That's a good buzz, but making an impact on things like with Aussie's guitar.
That's the kind of stuff you don't get at the factories.
No, that's right. Yeah.
It's the only, it's the small guys who make instruments for a passion, and you get to meet the maker, and you get to really get that story across and make it special. I think it's such a wonderful thing for you and for the customers. That sort of interaction and to make it really something.
Maybe I should get someone to build me a guitar.
There you go. Maybe.
There is one guitar. So the guy that taught me to build guitars, Stewie. If there was one guitar out there, or one to be made for me, that's where it would have to come from.
Yeah, right.
I think.
Let's go to Port Douglas for a
and I get to go for a holiday too.
Yeah, I'll be up for that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. So Billy, if you were to get one guitar made, what would you go for? Or would you just get an all-rounder?
I would. There's a couple of guitars on my want list, but there's one guitar that I have to have at some point, and that's I think, like I said to you before, I've never had a guitar built for me, so I'd like a guitar built by the guy that taught me to build guitars.
Pretty special.
Definitely, yeah. I would probably throw my hands up and let him make the decision. He knows me well. Yep. I would want his input. It'd be probably something similar to what you've got, Pete, I reckon. It's smaller bodied. More sort of vintage vibe looking thing. There's two other guitars I'd love to have. One's a Mule Resophonic. Yeah. They're really cool, and that's something that I can't build. Metalwork isn't my friend. Yep. I'd love to own one of those, and I'd love to own a guitar by, there's a guy called Patch Rubin, White Sky Guitars. Mm-hmm. He's built for Gary Clark Jr. One of his would be pretty cool. Yeah.
If you look, speaking of those Mule resonators, they have brought out, I noticed, the model called a Mavis.
The Mavis, yeah.
You seen that?
Very cool.
So that's like a wooden body machine with a cone, right?
Yeah. It's more of an electric guitar, but it's a timber version, or timber bodied with a cone. Yeah, I built a similar thing, like a Res Electric, I suppose you want to call it. Yeah, heaps cool, really cool.
So you have gone down that road a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But I mean, Mule, that's all they do. Yeah. Is, and you could go and beg them to do something else and they wouldn't do it. And I've watched Matt, the guy that started it, I've watched him. That's the beauty of social media. He was literally building in a basement when he started, and I've sort of followed his journey to now, big warehouse, 5 guys working for him. Yeah. Client list a mile long. Like he sells his wait list now, he opens it up on the first of the month for about 10 minutes. Yeah. And you got to get on it, or you got to wait for the next month to come round.
And I did notice they've branched out and making electrics now too. Like they got
they do sort of metal-bodied Strats and Tally sort of things as well. Yeah,
and that short-scale baritone thing they're doing a bit as well.
Yeah.
Looks interesting.
Yeah, very cool. Just very unique, very cool. They're guitars on the want list, but they're not on the need list. On the need list is getting one made for me by Stewie, one day.
And sorry, I cut you off there. You were talking about another instrument too. Was there another maker that you wanted to?
So there was White Sky.
Yeah.
Patch Rubin. Yeah, so he makes a pretty cool smaller body electric guitar. I think he was building. He's just a one-man show. I think his workshop was like in the Arizona desert or something. It was really cool. And I think he's just moved to Hawaii and set up shop there.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that'd be cool is I think they're called water slide guitars, and they'd basically do like a Cuda caster, right Cuda thing. You can get it with palm benders, and they use like gold foil pickups and stuff. You can't beat Raikuda's sound.
Oh man, it's such a inviting sound. It's funny. Rye's name comes up in every chat we have.
Yeah, it would do. And that's like growing up. Before I turned into an angry punk rock kid, like in the house, there was music in the house, but it was usually like, so Dad would listen to, and Mum, like Raikuda, like Boomer's Story was at my dad's funeral. My dad was called Boomer actually. Anyway, Jackson, heaps of Jackson Brown. Anything with Dave Lindley on it. Bit of the Eagles, I remember. Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, that sort of stuff. It's funny. I've got pretty broad taste in music. So even in the workshop, we could be listening to some sort of stoner rock first thing in the morning. Then a bit of Deftones. Then a bit of Jeff Lang, then a bit of Pete Cornelius. It just sort of evolves throughout the day. Then a bit of Sublime or some reggae or you're selling yourself short if you pick one genre and stick to it. Chris Whitley, it could be anything.
Yeah, and especially because you're making instruments or repairing instruments for such a broad range of people, you really don't want to narrow down your audience by saying, no, I only work on instruments that are, made for metal.
Absolutely.
I'm only a blues guy. I only work on things that look like they come out of the 50s. You sort of really need to open your mind and be willing to not only play any sort of music here, but sort of support any type of player.
Absolutely.
Listen to their needs, because everyone's got different needs and opinions, and I'm sure you've got opinions about particular setups and stuff as well, but like you said, the customer has to be happy.
That's right. I'm so not a Floyd Rose guy, but I need to be able to understand it. Because the next guy that walks in might want a 7-string baritone shredding guitar. While I'm building an Irish bouzouki. So you kind of got to be a bit, to be able to keep the workload going, you got to be pretty open.
And like we said before, it's good to learn different skills and techniques from other instruments, and other genres would inspire that. So therefore, you just got a broader knowledge of how instruments work and how they set up. And
probably banjo's the only thing I'll still fix them, but I built one banjo.
Right. Dark art.
And it's not as simple as it sounds, building a banjo.
Put a stick on a drum.
Not at all. Just about went bankrupt. This thing took me a long time to get my head around, because I don't play them. I rarely repair them. It's an awesome banjo.
Is that here in Tassie?
That went to the Pilbara.
Cool.
That was for a guy's 50th birthday. It was a cool thing. So I had all this sort of custom inlay work on it, and but there seemed to be a lot of variables, I suppose. All right, what's a good banjo action? Well, are you claw hammering or are you doing this? And I'm like, well, I don't know because it's a surprise for a guy's 50th. I can't talk to him. Yeah. Did your mate play claw? Oh, I don't know. So just a lot of variables.
Was it a 5-string?
5-string, yeah. And it was kind of like, oh, well, some people like it this way and some people like this way. You make the call. And I'm like, well, I don't play them. So it was really, It was probably... Yeah, half the time spent on it was thinking of...
Just researching or thinking of ways to make it a playable, good-sounding instrument. Yeah. Was it a resonator or was it open back?
No, resonator, did the whole thing. Even and trying to sort of... There's a lot of modifying my tooling to be able to make things like that.
Yep.
That's, part of the game of making so many different styles of instruments. You spend half your life making tools and jigs to be able to make the instrument.
Yeah,
you can spend a week making jigs before you even start the guitar.
I guess the beauty of that is once you have a tool,
then you can
for
exactly.
Life. But it's just that setup time and
yeah.
So have your instruments gone across Australia? Like do you sort of follow them in a way, like keep track and?
Oh I do. Yeah, like. A lot of people I've got a lot of good friendships now with people that I built instruments for that I didn't know before I started. So, I got quite a few customers that have a collection. So, musician Todd Cook in Victoria, he's got 2 acoustics, a ukulele, a bouzouki. So he's got 4, and he's about to put in an order for another acoustic.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then there's another guy, Dave Cook. He's got 3 or 4 up in Queensland. So, I think I've probably got most of Australia. I'd like to think there's enough out there now that most nights of the week someone's playing something I built on a stage somewhere. Yeah, whether a local pub or whatnot. Yeah, so I'm not. My market's more I love working for the working muso.
Yeah.
Not really interested in the superstar sort of thing. Yeah, I like the person that's out there playing in a shitty pub.
Yeah.
With the bloody horse racing on the TV in the background. Like, I can relate to them. I've done a lot of that myself.
Yeah.
But no, there's plenty of them floating around now, I think. I don't advertise really. I've got social media. I hate it.
Yeah.
But I have to have it. It's part of, I think a lot of musicians feel the same way.
Absolutely.
You just kind of got to do it.
Yep. It's the same as all the streaming platforms. Like, I know a lot of musos who don't do it. Mm-hmm. And I think for an original artist, you need to be on those platforms. Yeah. It's like a business card.
It is.
It's like a business expense. You treat it as, okay, here's an expense, my online distribution, I can claim that on tax. Mm-hmm. I need to be part of this machine. Otherwise, no one's going to hear my music.
Yeah.
It's just going to...
absolutely.
Unless you're at a live show...
Yeah.
And you've bought the merch, which I strongly think people should do.
Absolutely.
Buy the merch.
Yep.
But, 99% of people are going to listen to your music off a tablet, off a phone, off a computer. So.
Yeah. I mean, like, the last physical bit of music I bought was the 2020 Blues.
Hey.
There we go.
Only because it had your guitar on the cover, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. No, so that was probably the last thing I bought. I mean, I'm guilty. Most of the stuff that I listen to in here, I'm just streaming it off YouTube because it's there in front of me.
Yeah.
But, I think I'm lucky enough that a lot of my customers, when they're gigging, a lot of them actually tell the story of the guitar they're playing at the gig.
Well, it becomes a talking point.
Yeah.
I know that when I first got that guitar, people were like, oh, what is that? And I started talking about it off stage. I thought, maybe I should include this in a bit of on-stage kind of interaction and banter between me and the crowd.
Yeah.
Because it's a business card as well. The guitar itself is a talking point.
Yep.
And people are genuinely interested in that side of it. They just want to hear about, here's another love song, or here's another song about how much, life's hard. They want to hear about, your tools and your crafts, and if it came from Billy Tarrant down the road, they want to hear about that.
Yeah. So I'm fortunate with that. And I literally, I have new customers walk in. I was on the Spirit of Tasmania last night, and there was a guy playing a guitar, and we got talking, and I'm like, cool, get the checkbook out. Yeah. So I'm very lucky in that regard, I think.
And that's the best advertising is word of mouth. Like ideally, if you have someone who's happy to promote you just for their own good, like not they're probably not doing it because they are going to get a commission or whatever. They just truly support what you do and are happy to promote it. Yeah, that's the best thing. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and and if it's at a gig, then you get to the proofs in what you're hearing. Hopefully, if the sound guy's on the money.
Yeah, I suppose it could be the worst advertising as well sometimes.
Yeah, it could be.
Are there any particular builds you're working on at the moment that are pushing the boundaries? Is there anything you're sort of harking back to those early few builds, or what's happening here at the workshop?
So at the moment, I've got a couple of Weizenborns I'm building for stock. Yeah, I try to build one a year. Yeah, they're a bit more of a unique instrument, so you would think they'd be a bit harder to sell, but you very rarely walk into a music shop and, look at all the Weizenborns.
Yeah.
And the last one I built, that actually sold to it's in a fine art collection in Melbourne.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, lovely couple emailed me and, we're over for Melbourne. We noticed you do Weizenborns. Can we come? Have you got one? And I was literally just putting strings on one. So, they came in and he's determined to learn it, but she's determined they collect fine art. So, anyway, the one before that won the Premier's Award at the Tassie Craft Fair. So I thought, bugger, I'm going to build two. Have two in the stash this time.
Yeah.
A couple of those. I've got a 4-string tenor guitar, acoustic guitar, like a short scale thing. And same again, you're not going to walk into a music shop and see something like that. So, so building one of those for stock. I do the craft for every year in Deloraine. So that's kind of like I suppose.
That's your NAM.
Yeah, it is. That is my NAM, yeah, which makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah. It's not a guitar-related expo or anything like that. Usually our stands in between sort of some lovely old ladies making lacework and some jewellery on the other side, and we're slinging guitars. But it works, and people come from all over just to see it. I'll drive up from Hobart just to come and look at the guitars, and for some weird reason it works. Yeah, so trying to build a bit of stock for that.
That's in November every year, isn't it?
Yeah, first weekend in November. So, looking forward to that. A few custom orders.
Yep.
I usually keep about like a steady sort of 4 to 6 month, I don't know if you want to call it a wait list or something. But that's taking into account I could be repairing 3 or 4 days a week at the same time.
What's your take on Tassie timbers as tone woods?
It's probably a bit of a so it's a taboo,
talking topic,
taboo subject. A lot of it's usable, some of it's subjective. Yep. So blackwood's become quite popular, being an acacia, the same sort of family as Hawaiian koa, which is tried and tested and been used for over 100 years. So and there's a lot of blackwood around, so it's commercially available. So there's a lot of factory guitars using it. Blackheart sassafras is very usable. Myrtle's very usable. They are different though.
Yeah.
I think to use Tasmanian timbers, you need to be open to the idea that it's not going to. Why doesn't my Tassie Myrtle guitar sound like old mates Bruce and Rosewood Dreadnought? And it's tone's subjective.
Tone is very subjective. And
I walk in a room and go, gee, I love the sound of that. The next person walking in goes, geez, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
So
that's the beauty of an instrument, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there structural integrity that's changed with Tassie timbers? Like, is there different bracing you need to sort of think about?
Yeah, you do need to treat it a little bit differently. Absolutely. Like any timber from all over the world, and even with blackwood, like I've found that like East Coast blackwood's different to West Coast blackwood.
Sure.
Or blackwood from the highlands, depends how quickly the tree's grown.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of, every bit of wood's different.
Yeah.
And you need to treat it that way. I've seen a few. There's a few people that have tried Hue and Pine as a soundboard, but treated it like a piece of spruce.
Right.
And it's the opposite. This is only my opinion.
Yeah.
Hue and Pine's quite heavy because of the oil content, and it's very soft, where spruces are quite light and quite stiff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've done their bracing like it was a bit of spruce, and then they've come and see me because their action's 6 foot high, just because the soundboard wasn't supported properly.
Yeah.
Things like that. But no, look, a lot of it's very usable if you treat it for what it is. For solid bodies, electric guitars, Tassie timbers, most of it's really heavy.
Yeah.
So you've either got to be chambering bodies and things like that. King Billy's great for everything if you can get it.
That's the thing. A lot of these timbers we're talking about are quite hard to source.
Yeah, they're not commercially available.
Yeah.
And it's I've got a piece of King Billy pine, beautiful, perfectly quarter-sawn. That'll probably get 2 soundboards from Bungie. Yeah, that he had under his house for 20 years. I wouldn't know where to go and physically buy that piece if I had to.
Yeah.
Lucky enough to be given a bit, and too bloody scared to use it because I probably won't be able to replace it.
That's right. Be measuring 100 times before you're cutting it.
Yeah.
Not just twice.
Yeah. But no, look, I think, Tassie timber's great if you treat it like Tassie timber.
What do you think about recycled stuff? I know that if you look on Gumtree, there's like hundreds of pianos going for giveaway.
Yep, I've been down that.
You've been down that road?
Yeah. I built a Telecaster out of a piano. So I was given a piano, a German one, and once you rip all the gorgeous looking walnut veneer off it, I'm like, all the support beams it's all spruce.
Wow.
And some of the panels were rock maple. I thought, I got a neck, I got rock maple, I got some spruce, I could do a spruce bodied Telecaster. All the keys were ivory veneers.
Yep.
All the black keys were ebony. So I built a Telecaster basically out of it. Really, really cool thing. So I used all the ivory for the inlays and all that. I thought, I love this. It's guilt-free guitar making.
Carbon neutral.
Yeah, right. Give me another piano.
Yeah.
So then just look on Gumtree. Free piano if you cut it down 6 flights of stairs. Went and did a bit of that and got another 2 pianos. And and it takes a day to break a piano down.
Yeah.
And you start off being gentle and you end up on a chainsaw.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's the next 2 were.
And are you looking for wooden frames?
Yeah. But the next 2 were American uprights, and underneath the veneer it was all American oak that was completely full of borer holes. Right. So I basically got burnt on the next 2. And I haven't gone back and revisited that idea. But no, I love the idea of recycled. Timber, absolutely. There's I don't know if you've heard of Cindy Guitars. Works out of Carmine Street Guitars in the States. And she, basically all the old buildings, I think it's in New York, that get torn down, they go dumpster diving and literally salvage all the timber, catalogue it. So when you go into their guitar shop, all right, I'd love a Telecaster out of the old brothel on 4th Street from the floorboards or something.
Wow.
And it's literally like, all the bits of wood are written what historical building they came out of as they're gradually sort of knocking down all the old buildings. So, and they've turned it into a thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Especially the history that goes behind that. People love that backstory sort of component.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's gives it there's a story behind the guitar. So.
And have you seen those skateboard deck guitars?
Prisma, Prisma guitars.
They're cool too.
Very cool. Yeah, I love that idea too.
Yeah. Just the finish on those looks so wild.
Yeah, I looked right into. There's a product now called Hempwood, and it's in America, and they've created basically a building material out of hemp, and they use it's like a soy-based glue to glue it all together, and they reckon it's twice as strong as oak, and and all sorts. Maybe one day I'll go down that path. For some guilt-free guitar making, I guess.
I even saw a video of a cardboard guitar. They CNC'd a Strat.
I saw that
out of cardboard.
Yeah, which ruffles feathers because I watched the same video, and they're in I think they took it into a studio, and the guys playing it. What do you think it sounds like? Well, it sounds like a Strat. Wow.
It's made of cardboard. Yeah. So it's cool. I really love the diversity that an instrument can take. I love the traditional builds and woods and finishes, but I really love the evolution of sustainable, guilt-free guitars as well. I think it's if both can go hand in hand somehow, and still inspire and create great music. I think.
Definitely.
Good platform.
Yeah, the workshop we're sitting in, eventually in a year, it's probably going to be knocked down to make way for development. But the guy doing the development, he wants me to build him a guitar out of something, maybe the floor or something inside the grounds we're on.
Cool.
To sort of commemorate it, I suppose.
Well, that's the same thing what we're talking about with the guitars from New York, like just having a bit of an insight to in the history of the wood and the belonging and all that sort of stuff.
It makes people definitely
warm and fuzzy, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Cool, Billy. And how can people reach out, mate, if they want to have a chat about a build or
sure.
Getting in touch?
Yeah, look, Facebook, Tarrant Guitars, Instagram, Tarrant Guitars. Contact details are on there.
Okay.
I don't update things as much as I should. I've got a website too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, righto. tarrantguitars.net.au. Yeah, but, flick us an email, give me a call.
Yep.
Yeah, we can get the ball rolling. Things don't happen quickly. We can go back and forth, planning a build for a year before it evolves into something.
Yeah.
But always up for a chat.
Excellent. So if anyone out there has a German piano they want to give away and deliver.
Old German, with some nice spruce in it.
Yeah, not cool. American. Yeah. Happily accept.
Yeah, there we go.
Cool, Billy. Well, thanks for the chat.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate you opening up the workshop for us this morning.
Cool.
And thanks for Angus over there for
still going. Yeah,
still snoring away. It's a dog's life, eh?
That's it. Thanks.
Cheers, mate.
Good on you.
Thanks for listening, folks, to another episode of Say It With Guitars. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, share it around to your mates, leave a good review, and hopefully we'll see you next time.